Good afternoon and welcome everyone. Welcome to the Youth Forum. Yes, so I trust everyone is here already. So may we ask you all to please turn on your cameras so you can have a group photo. It's a souvenir for this event. Uyong, would you please give us a cue when you're about to take a shot? Thank you. So
thank you. The photo has been taken.
Thank you everyone. So without further delay, may we now begin with our youth forum. For starters, thank you very much everybody for taking your time and joining us for this wonderful event. It's a time for the youths to shine. So let us now begin the event by starting out with Mr. Bo-Gyun Shim's welcome remarks. Please.
Distinguished guests, colleagues, and participants, my name is Bo-Gyun Shim, head of the United Nations Project Office on Governance of the Division for Public Institutions and Digital Government of UNDESA, and it is my greatest pleasure to welcome you to our 5th Youth Forum on SDG Implementation. Before I begin, I'd like to extend my gratitude to the speakers, Director Sung-Soo Kim from the Ministry of the Interior and Safety, Mr. Jae-Hak Jang, the Advisory Ambassador for International Relations in Incheon City Government, Mr. Willie Shaw from the World Organization of the Scout Movement, and Director Achiko Okuda from the International Telecommunications Union for attending this event. To my colleagues from UNPOG and other UN offices, thank you for your support and collaboration and for taking the judge's role for today's competition. Most importantly, I'd like to congratulate and welcome the 18 candidates who will be sharing their inspirational ideas with us today. Before I proceed, I'd like to raise 2 questions to the audience. First, how hard is it for you to go through with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic? And second, how hard was it for you to deal with the heat wave during the summer? Depending on your territory, some of you might have been affected by heavy rains, wildfires, and drought. Now you may be wondering why I brought these questions up. According to the experts, I'd like to share that if our current situation does not improve, more people from around the world will suffer from the scary viruses and threatening climate change in the future. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reported that the temperature would rise by more than 3.3 degrees Celsius if this trend continues. Truly, I fear that the younger generations will suffer more from climate change-related calamities as we move into the future. We cannot easily address the issues like viruses and climate change without effective governance. But you may ask, what is effective governance? Effective governance is about creating effective solutions to public problems, especially those threatening people's lives and properties. Depending on the effectiveness of governance, we witness the differences and gaps in a country's number of deaths and victims of a pandemic or natural disaster. The UN statistics reported that there are 1.8 billion young people in this world between the age of 10 to 24 and takes about 18% of the world's population. This number signifies the importance of their involvement and participation in the recovery plans of the COVID-19 and the climate crisis. This fifth youth forum will be a place where you can discuss and share your ideas to advance the youth development agenda for inclusion in key processes and frameworks for the COVID-19 and the climate crisis recovery, and facilitate discussions of empowerment to build a green, resilient, and sustainable society. This forum is a place for you to speak up. Although, unfortunately, I'm not present for this forum, I look forward to the discourse, the presentations, and the learnings that everyone will acquire today. I'd like to conclude my remarks by expressing my gratitude to our distinguished guests and colleagues for their time and insights that we will hear. To the participants, I wish you all the best for this forum and your journey to becoming leaders of the next generation. Have a fruitful and engaging youth forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that was a message from the head of our office. Unfortunately, he is unable to join us right now because he has to go on a mission to New York. But he was very kind enough to encourage and leave a message for everyone. And I hope that inspired you of anyway. Next, I would like to call upon Director General Kim Song-soo to please give us your opening remarks. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for having me here. Mr. Bo-Kyun Shim, Head of United Nations Project Office on Governance, and Advisory Ambassador, His Excellency Jang Jae-hak for Relations of Incheon Metropolitan City, and all participants and distinguished guests. It is my great pleasure to meet you all here. I am Song-soo Kim, Director General for International Administrative Cooperation Bureau, Ministry of Interior and Safety. Let me begin by my mentioning how pleased I am to be here this afternoon at the 5th Youth Forum on SDG Implementation, which is a little long titled, the Leveraging Public Governance and Enhancing Youth Engagement to Promote Green, Resilient, and Sustainable Recovery from COVID-19. I'd like to also say congratulations to UNFOG on holding this 5th Youth Forum in this COVID-19 situation after successful completion of first forum last year. As a responsible member of the international community, the Ministry of Interior and Safety is also playing a key role in promoting sustainable development goals in public administration and governance by creating a better government. I believe that our effort will surely enhance our public administration's capacity for achieving sustainable and balanced development. I think the host organization of today's forum, UNFOG, is also taking the same role under the UN system, mainly targeting the countries in Asia Pacific and Eastern African region. The international community is also making every effort to ensure that no one is left behind in achieving the SDGs. Advancing SDG implementation is a global issue, reaching beyond the capacity of a single country or organization. In this reason, it is crucial and critical that young people across the world have a better understanding on SDGs and actively take part in the SDG implementation in their communities as a global citizens. As you are aware of, the Youth Forum has become a platform for sharing your innovative ideas to accelerate the international community's aspirations for the implementation of the SDGs. This is exactly what the forum is designed for, to understand what the SDGs are and to discuss what we can contribute to implementing the SDGs. The ongoing global health crisis and its economic and social impact caused by this COVID-19 pandemic pose unprecedented challenges for the youth, not just only our whole community. As the youth and future generation will shoulder most of the long-term economic and social consequences of the crisis, it is all the more important to engage young people in building this societal resilience. I hope that this year's Youth Forum will give all participants a great opportunity to exchange their concrete ideas and solutions to empower the youth and create a great environment for their contributions to building resilience for the recovery from COVID-19. In closing, I'd like to say again, congratulate all the participants and also UNPOG staff for who successfully made the progress to this final round through hard work. And I hope also that everyone will have a good chance to present their creative and innovative ideas by unleashing your your abilities to the fullest today. I thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for the wonderful opening remarks. Like yourself, we hope that this opportunity will also empower the young and future leaders to raise their voice in recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. So next, may I call upon the Advisory Ambassador for International Relations, Mr. Jae-hak Chung, to please deliver us your opening remarks. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear Mr. Shin, Head of the Office of UNPOG, DJ Kim, Maurice, distinguished participants, and ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my distinct honor and privilege to speak at today's Youth Forum. First of all, allow me to begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to Mr. Shin for the leadership he has shown in deepening the cooperation between UNPOG and Incheon Metropolitan City. I want to thank the members of UNPOG for the excellent preparation for this meaningful event. My deep gratitude goes to all of you who have worked very hard to make this event possible. As all of you may be aware, UNPOG's youth program aims to raise awareness among young people and listen to the voice of the young. On top of that, it encourages young people to get involved in the discussion on implementing the SDGs. As such, it'll also be an excellent opportunity for us government officials like me to listen to the opinions of young individuals regarding the challenges they face. Today, participants from a variety of places are all encouraged to present their ideas freely and, more importantly, to enjoy the competition with the fellow young minds. I believe the method of participation we have to take due to COVID-19 will not hinder the brilliant ideas of our younger minds, and instead showcase their resilience through difficult time. For the participants, I hope that the event will provide an opportunity to freely express creative ideas. We eagerly welcome your input, knowing fully well that your voices today can shape the world tomorrow. I hope that the ideas presented today will someday feature in a lot of constructive debates and continue to resonate with the people in the world. In closing, I wish to express once again my appreciation for the initiative taken by UNPOG and how honored I am to be invited to talk before you. And I wish you all health and happiness. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jack Jang. Indeed, the young generation's voices now can truly shape our future. Thank you very much, sir. Without further ado, let us now move on to our keynote speakers. Unfortunately, one of our speakers, no matter how much they wanted to join us, could not come for this meeting due to the time difference. So he sends us a recording. This video is from Mr. Willie Shao from the World Scout Organization Movement. He's the lead youth representative on SDGs. So please maybe show it for everyone to see. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm super excited to be crash landing on you today from New York City. Sorry I was unable to join this amazing Record of Youth live. I've seen some of the profiles and submissions and I'm so impressed by the group that's gathered here today to start up this youth forum. My name is Willie, and I'm a representative of the World Organization of the Scout Movement. These are scouts, so like the ones that wear neckerchiefs, like the one I have on, and one of our most famous scouts is probably Dasong from Parasite. And I'm here on behalf of our Secretary General, Ahmed Al-Andawi. Scouting is a global movement of over 57 million young people across the world, making the world's largest coordinated youth contribution to the SDGs. This youth forum is about SDG implementation. We talk about 17 Sustainable Development Goals a lot at the UN. Every summer, there's a high-level political forum gathered in New York to review the progress of these goals. Many countries present a voluntary national review of the SDGs. Every spring, we have the Bonn Festival of Action, where 1,500 people from over 150 countries arrive on site to empower and connect on action for the SDGs. And there's the annual ECOSOC Youth Forum, which brings together youth ministers and youth representatives alike to review the agenda and achievements of the Sustainable Development Goals. Globally, we talk about these SDGs a lot. But the truth of the matter is, we're not on track to achieve them, not even close. Even before COVID, we were globally on track to miss the SDGs by a long shot. One report published in 2019 had the headline, "Long in words, but short on action, UN sustainability goals are threatened to fail." Only 3 countries in the entire world are on track to meet 75% of the targets or more. Think about that. That's over 160 countries measured for SDGs, and over 157 of them are not even going to get within 3/4 of the goals. Now, that was 2019. Fast forward, COVID has only made it worse. The global poverty rate has increased for the first time in 20 years. The global average temperature has reached about 1.2 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels. An additional 101 million children have fallen below minimum proficient reading levels. To give you a sense of what that means, in 2019, 59% of children were proficient in reading. And that means at a 3rd grade level, students can read aloud written words accurately and fluently, and that they understand the overall meaning of sentences and short text. That's it. Some of our most pressing issues are in governance, climate, youth unemployment, and youth underemployment. So globally, we've set out such an ambitious goal, and we're so far away from achieving them, which naturally raises the question, what's the point? Are these goals a lie? Were they made up just for marketing? For something fun for us to talk about? Was it just to fill time at the UN? Let me tell you a story. In March 2020, Italy went into lockdown because of the coronavirus. Over 68,000 people used to travel daily across the border between Switzerland and Italy for work. An Italian-speaking region, Ticino, in the north of Switzerland, had its first death from coronavirus, an 80-year-old woman who contracted it at a nursing home. It's a time when fears ran high. The entirety of Switzerland risked an economic shutdown. People were staying home, shutting down, washing and sanitizing their groceries before bringing it in. It was a time of confusion and chaos. And in the midst of this, on the French-speaking side of Switzerland in Nyon, a small group of university students were on break from school. Dante, a 23-year-old scout leader, reached out to a peer in Ticino to understand the safety precautions related to COVID. And then over the course of the next 3 days, worked tirelessly to set up a delivery network, supporting the most vulnerable and the most isolated in their communities. This ultimately led to 1,680 hours of service in their region. Close by in Geneva, Scouts organized 462 deliveries to 180 homes. In Tunisia, Scouts similarly set up a call center and organized with local shops in a trust and credit system, which led them to make over 400 deliveries in the first months of coronavirus. And in Limerick, Ireland, Callum, a scout on his own, biked door to door and delivered groceries to those isolated, vulnerable, and disabled during COVID. And the magical part about it all is none of these scouts talked to each other before this. None of them were told to do this. In fact, these young people shared a common bond that they believed that they could make an impact in their local communities. I don't know how many people Callum delivered groceries to, but in each of these cases, 462 deliveries, 400, each of these individually are not going to change the world, and they're not meant to. But through the dispersed network of millions and tens of millions of these young people in their local communities, these communities were just a little bit more livable. For the 80-year-old grandfather who couldn't visit the grocery store for fear of the virus. For the immunocompromised young professionals stuck working from home with nowhere to get food, it meant the world. Let me play a video for you. Great. So the SDGs draw us together and remind us about the goals we share at a global level. But it's about how you take that inspiration back into your own community and what you act on that can drive us towards a slightly better world. Your job is to make it not just about discussion. Your job is to do this forum right and follow it up with hundreds and thousands of actions you take after this forum. You have to organize and take action. As a youth ambassador for Scouting, I see what we can do on governance, climate, and unemployment, but we have to start acting on them. We have to have a bias towards that action. At Scouting, we believe in the SDGs, but not just as something that brings us together in spirit. Scouts have worked towards the SDGs long before 2015 and will continue to do so long after 2030. We think the passionate young people gathered here at the Youth Forum today are probably in a similar mindset. So think about today as just a start.
10 years ago, we committed to inspire a culture of peace and a dialogue to make the world a better place with our Messengers of Peace initiative. Since then, we have pledged to make the world's largest youth contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Over the years, we have seen millions of scouts in over 170 countries lead incredible peace-building and community service projects to improve our planet. Their efforts have already led to a contribution of 2 billion hours of community service and 16 million local actions toward peace and sustainable development, bringing us halfway to our goal of 4 billion hours. We're proud to celebrate this milestone, but this is just the beginning. We must achieve the SDGs in the next 10 years to put our planet on a path of peace and sustainability. And this starts with us, 54 million scouts taking action now. We're Scouts for SDGs.
You don't have to be a scout to do these things. You have many opportunities to join bilaterals and youth forums. You can join the Jeju Youth Forum, ASEF, Asia Youth Speak Up Forum, the India-South Korea Youth Forum. All of these are incredibly meaningful and useful, and it's important that you take those learnings and take the other exciting young people you meet and turn that into a tangible outcome and impact for those around you. So what this means in governance is it's important for youth to become not just the recipients of government and governance, but to have a central role in shaping policies and actions. For example, in Scouting, we host a youth forum in which youth representatives debate and vote on the same resolutions as those that will govern the organization at the World Scout Conference. You want to find opportunities for this and to shape them and to make your voice heard in governance. In climate, our future as young people is threatened. We can focus global attention on the issue that needs to be addressed. This is where, as youth, you can lead projects on the ground to become the role models and examples for other generations. You probably already do this today, but make a resolution to double down. In unemployment, as Scouts, we believe in learning by doing. While the digital transformation is putting fear at the loss of jobs for young people, it's also a place where you can learn and grow the most. Seize the change and leverage digital changes to provide equal opportunities to young people. Overall, I guess what I'm saying is, you don't need permission to dance. With enough of us young youth doing that, you may just have a chance to shift the needle a little bit towards achieving Agenda 2030. Thank you for the opportunity to address this youth forum. This humbling group of people who are going to be the next generation of leaders, thank you. If you have any questions or want to connect, please reach out, and my information is on the PowerPoint.
So that's from the World Organization of the Scout Movement. He is representing in behalf of Mr. Ahmed, the first UN Youth Envoy. Next, let us now call on Ms. Atsuko Okuda to please share with us your part of the speech. Ms. Atsuko, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you. Excellencies, the UNPOC Director, Mr. Sim, and the participants, thank you very much for inviting ITU to this important meeting. I'm delighted to share ITU's initiative focusing on the COVID-19, the digital technology, and our youth program. And I hope that at the end of the presentation, you will feel like joining us or coming up with similar initiatives. And I have two colleagues from my office, Rudy and Alma, joining us today. So if you have any questions, they will be with you to answer questions and share additional information. So my name is Atsuko Okuda. I am the Regional Director of the ITU Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific based in Bangkok. Next slide, please. So let me start with a bit of information on what is ITU. I'm expecting that the youth participants may not know our organization. ITU, in fact, is the oldest UN agency established in 1865, and we are specialized in information and communication technologies. Next slide, please. So we have 193 member countries globally. And what is very unique about ITU is that we have a membership in the industry and academia. So in total, we have about 900 non-government members participating in our work. So what do? We have three main areas of work. One is the radio communication. As you use mobile phones, we have an important role to play in deciding the frequencies and assigning the orbits for the satellites. So that is called ITU Radio Communication Bureau. In addition, we have a standardization bureau. Technology needs to be standardized. For instance, GPEC is a standard that was discussed at ITU. So we have this important role to make the technology usable and useful to the people and users. And finally, we have a development bureau trying to narrow the digital divide. As the previous speaker really said, that there are negative consequences of digital technology due to COVID, but we try to address as much as possible by providing inclusive access to broadband services and build the capacity so that the youth are prepared for the digital future. Next slide, please. So we have offices all around the world, and in Asia and the Pacific, we have the regional office in Bangkok and the area office in Jakarta. And we hope to open a new office in New Delhi in the coming months. Yes, thank you. Next slide, please. So I would like to talk a little bit about COVID and what it did in the ICT sector. Because of the lockdowns all across, people started shifting all the essential services and communication to digital platforms. And you can imagine that due to the increasing demand, there are more infrastructure, more networks. And this is a slide that show the increase between 2019, which was pre-COVID, and 2022, when the COVID was prevalent. So you can see that globally, there's a significant jump in terms of the fixed broadband subscribers, mobile broadband subscribers, and the mobile coverage has also increased. And there are more users at home, individual and household, as well as the amount of data that is flowing around. But it doesn't mean that everyone equally benefited from the shift to digital platforms. And this is something that we are working on. Next slide, please. So in order to address the negative consequences of COVID, for instance, there were children who couldn't move on to e-learning because the house and family couldn't afford the access or devices, so they couldn't participate in remote learning. So we identified and we assessed where are those families, where are those communities not connected, and what's the best way to connect them. And ITU, together with the partners that you see on the slide, have been working to make sure that the negative consequences are minimized on the digital platform. So we work with World Bank, GSMA, which is an association of mobile operators, and other partners to provide reliable and trustworthy digital services for all, and to provide the universal, reliable, and affordable connectivity for all. Next slide, please. And one project which we are promoting is the initiative called Connect to Recover. And this is where we assess the COVID-related issues connectivity, digital services, and capacity and resilience of services and infrastructure. Next slide, please. So this initiative aims to expand access to affordable and reliable connectivity so that they can adjust in the wake of COVID-19. And as you see, the focus areas include gap analysis, the promotion of digital infrastructure, and to implement pilot projects in Africa, Asia and the Pacific, CIS, and Americas. And we will be happy to provide more information, but let us move on to the youth. Next slide, please. So, oh, thank you. We have one more slide on Connect to Recover and opportunity to get involved. So, for instance, we are exploring the financial contributions and in-kind contributions, and in particular, we focus on LLDCs, landlocked developing countries, LDCs, least developed countries, and SIDS, the small island developing states, to connect. And we are looking for partnership from the industry to research and the youth to participate, to connect, to and recover from COVID. Next slide, please. If we have time, we would like to show the video. Is it okay?
Of course, ma'am. You may please do so.
Expanding access to digital technologies and services has been ITU's core mandate since its establishment. COVID-19 has demonstrated the critical nature of connectivity and the need for increased resilience of digital infrastructure to ensure that societies remain connected and functional even in the face of emergencies. As the global community is moving to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, ITU is working to ensure universal and affordable access to digital networks, services and applications in line with its Connect 2030 agenda. According to ITU's Economic Experts Roundtable, countries with high-quality digital infrastructure have been better prepared to mitigate the negative economic impact of COVID-19. But the digital divide has hampered socio-economic progress, especially in underserved regions, such as sub-Saharan Africa, where 62% of people are not connected to the internet. Even in advanced economies, not everyone is connected. 14% of people in Western Europe do not have access or use the internet. Financial pressures caused by COVID-19 will make it even harder to connect everyone. In support to COVID-19, ITU's initiatives aim at supporting countries to leverage the potential of digital solutions to address the current global emergency and to plan and implement recovery. These initiatives aim to create a shared knowledge base on the regulatory, policy, financial interventions and the technology required to expand connectivity. ITU's Global Network Resiliency Platform, Reg for COVID, helps policymakers, regulators and industry players worldwide to ensure that networks are kept resilient and telecom services are available to all to the maximum extent possible as they cope with the impact of COVID-19. Led by ITU and UNICEF, the GIGA initiative aims at catalyzing the funding required to bring connectivity to schools and communities. The Smart Villages platform, together with operators and small and medium-sized enterprises, provides interactive voice services on COVID-19 to everyone in Niger in 5 local languages. Launched in partnership with Cisco, ITU's Digital Transformation Centers initiative focuses on providing digital skills to citizens, and in response to COVID-19, the centres have been offering a free of charge programme on remote teaching. The Broadband Commission for Sustainable Development, co-convened by ITU and UNESCO, put forward an agenda for action to extend internet access and boost capacity to fight COVID-19. ITU's new initiative, Connect to Recover, aims at reinforcing the digital infrastructure of beneficiary countries and supporting their COVID-19 recovery efforts and preparedness for the new normal, as well as potential future pandemics. ITU is launching the Connect to Recover initiative with the support of the governments of Japan and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. As highlighted in the United Nations Secretary General's Roadmap for Digital Cooperation, COVID-19 has underscored the urgent need for digital cooperation and to provide affordable access to digital networks to every adult by 2030. In response to the UN Secretary General's call to build back better, ITU is calling on the international community to connect to recover and to build back better with broadband.
Thank you. So perhaps with that, we can move on very quickly to the youth initiatives. And I know that the time is up, but I hope that you could allow me a few more minutes so that I can highlight a few important youth initiatives that we have. Can you go back to my presentation? So as the video mentioned, the UN Secretary General highlighted the importance of youth engagement in different SDG work. And accordingly, ITU has initiated a youth program called Generation Connect. Is it possible to show the presentation? There are some slides. And I can continue talking. Under this Generation Connects, as I said, there are, thank you. So this is the message from the UN Secretary General highlighting the importance of young people's engagement. Next slide, please. And accordingly, ITU developed the Digital Inclusion Program with the focus on the youth as well as gender, because we would like to make sure that women and young girls are included in the youth initiative. Next slide, please. So this is the Generation Connect Global. Across the globe, we have 6 regional groups of the young people who are supporting the digital technology for development as well as ITU's work. Next slide, please. So these are the photos of the youth. They are very active. And next slide, please. They are assisting us in these areas. In Asia and the Pacific, you can see ASP. That's the area that our youth are active, capacity development, cybersecurity, and digital inclusion and digital services. So they came up with the group of the youth under this program came up with the work program themselves. Next slide, please. And the objective is to improve and to have a real impact on the lives of the young people through digital technologies. And these statement of vision, for example, are something that the group developed in the work plan. So next slide, please. This is the photo of the youth members. We 26 men and women were selected from all across Asia and the Pacific to participate in this program. And I would like to encourage the participants to perhaps follow us and to apply next time when we open for calls to apply. And we look forward to the continuation and sustainability of youth engagement in the ITU's work and digital technology. Next slide, please. So this initiative is, as you see, this is the action plan. We support the youth access to policymakers and decision makers, and to make sure that the activities are undertaken in the countries and in Asia and the Pacific as a whole. Next slide, please. And for instance, we invited them to an important intergovernmental meetings so that their voices are heard, as well as the training, for instance, that we are organizing in PNG, Papua New Guinea, as well as the Girls in ICT Day in Bangladesh, so that they have an opportunity to share their experience, as well as to contribute to consolidate the youth voices for ITU's work. Next slide, please. And for your information, these activities will culminate into the Youth Summit in June 2022, and ITU organizes an important global conference called a World Development Telecommunication Development Conference, and we also encourage the participant youth to follow and, if possible, participate, because it's a hybrid meeting between youth and the ICT community. Next slide, please. In addition, very quickly, we have specific initiatives dedicated to gender equality, because even among youth, the gender equality and the empowerment of girls and young women is important. And we have two main programs, one called Girls in ICT Day and Equals Global Partnership. Next slide, please. So Equals Partnership is a multi-stakeholder, multi-partner initiative which promotes the advocacy, leadership, skills, and research to make sure that we identify the gaps and opportunities to empower women and girls in ICT field. Next slide, please. And just one very concrete example, we organized in January this year the inauguration of Equals Afghanistan. And as you see, we had 6 ministers, as well as the UN partners and the industry joining hands to commit to the gender equality in Afghanistan. Next slide, please. Additionally, we celebrate Girls in ICT Day every year in April. Next slide, please. And this year, we organized one in Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia, and one in Bangladesh recently, and one, thank you. This is the slide that we celebrated in Bangladesh, followed by capacity development training for girls and young women in coding and entrepreneurship and the female leadership. And we hope to organize such events more widely across Asia and the Pacific. Next slide, please. So the one which is coming up is one in Pakistan on 22nd of September. And for those participants interested, there is a QR code, and we'll be happy to provide any additional information. Next slide, please. So the next slide is the last with a Q. Oh, sorry, thank you. We also have an op-ed that we produced on several newspapers such as the Hindu, Bangkok Post, and the South China Morning Post on why it is important for girls and young women to pursue STEM education as well as ICT career in this increasingly digital world that we are witnessing. So for those interested, the URLs are attached. Next slide, please, which is the last with the QR code. For those interested in our work, please visit us and please send us an inquiry. We'll be happy to share more information on the Generation Connect as well as the gender programs. So thank you again for giving us this opportunity. And I'm so sorry that we went overboard. We have so much to share with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Satsuko. For sure, you would really love to share and engage these young participants to join the activities that you have. Our keynote speakers really have shared wonderful activities, and I hope that that also encouraged our dear future leaders to take part in those activities. More than ever, I think this is a wonderful opportunity for you to come and join and participate in this wonderful events that has an impact. Right, so let us now move on to the next part of the program, which is the presentation of our dear participants. So during this time, all the audiences will have the opportunity to listen to 6 teams who have been qualified for the next round. And before I forget, I would like to also remind everyone to please check in your chat box to see the contact details of our guest speakers. Similarly, you can visit our website to check on the PowerPoints and follow up on the slides. All right, so now may we have the slides, please, for everyone to see the order of the presentation. Right, so as you can see here, we will have the first team pharmacist to present in their slides, followed by finale, Team U, United Students of Korea, G3, and Clean. So teams, are you all ready? Great, great. So now maybe give the floor to team pharmacist to show us and present your slides.
May we begin? Okay. Hello, distinguished speakers and fellow participants. It is such a great honor to be able to speak at this forum today. We're the pharmacist team, and we'd like to introduce our project idea, pharmacy. Over the past year and a half, COVID-19 has impacted every aspect of our lives. Firstly, it's had negative effects on youth employment. While it's evidence that graduates with job experiences were twice as likely to receive job offers, job and internship postings have decreased by 52%. This means that the pandemic has made it difficult for the youth to gain hands-on career experience, creating a disadvantage for them in the job market. Another sector that's been negatively impacted by the pandemic is the agricultural sector. Decrease in food service due to worldwide social distancing measures has consequently led to the agricultural sector's decline. In this case, green agriculture and rural development have been addressed as the key to a sustainable future. It's time to think beyond the pandemic, to implement a comprehensive solution that will enable us to set green agriculture in motion and create work-related experiences for the youth while engaging different stakeholders to foster governance in rural areas.
This leads to our digital platform called Pharmacy. Pharmacy is the combination of farm and pharmacy, but also farm and democracy. This is because our platform will be like an actual pharmacy that helps rural areas implement sustainable farming, good governance, and ultimately increase youth employment, as the youth will be in charge of operating pharmacy as pharmacists. Pharmacy is composed of 3 main functions: community boards, town meeting recordings, and Green Farm Genie. The first function is the community boards. The crop shopping cart board is where farmers add what crops they want to cultivate in each season to a digital shopping cart. Farmers will be able to view what crops have been added by other rural farmers, which will reduce competition and price fluctuations in the market, allowing diverse crops to be cultivated and sold. Next, the mentoring board is where aspiring green farmers are matched with more experienced green farmers. Pharmacists in the administration area will be in charge of the matching process and certifying farmers that can act as mentors. The mentors and mentees will interact with each other for a year, asking questions about sustainable farming and receiving hand-me-downs. Next, the Q&A board is where anyone on pharmacy can ask any question they may have about sustainable farming practices. This contributes to pharmacy, lowering barriers for first-time green farmers through active information sharing. The Entrepreneurship Board is where pharmacists will post internships in green agricultural technology startups for the youth, connecting youth with the opportunity to intern at agri-tech startups. The Notification Board is where each rural region's pharmacist in the governance area upload concise summaries of town meetings. Therefore, people will have more access to and interest in government decisions, which will inspire anyone living in rural areas to be more engaged with the petition board on pharmacy. Newsletters will also be sent to households that do not have access to digital devices, since the digital divide is an ongoing issue in rural areas. Lastly, the petition board is where people can create petitions in two categories, which are the central government and town meeting officials. When a petition receives more than a certain number of likes, the matter has to be discussed in the next town meeting, or a government official has to reply to the petition, providing information on how the matter is being pursued along with a detailed development plan. Our next function is the town meeting recordings. Pharmacists who work in the governance area have to broadcast and upload every single town meeting. Since there are pharmacists allocated to each rural region, anyone can categorize which area's town meetings he or she wants to listen to. Our last function is the Green Farm Genie, which is a program that utilizes data processing, blockchain technology, and big data to help future and fellow green farmers by providing virtual, personalized consultations. When farmers input information about their resources and farms, they will receive extremely detailed feedback on what is needed for a successful transition to sustainable farming. The report will include information such as recommendations for resources and implementations that are needed, the pros and cons of each suggestion, and much more. There will be a green score, which is a comprehensive score of how sustainable a farm is based on the information compiled. Furthermore, as scholars have noted that the biggest challenge when trying to adopt sustainable agricultural practices is the lack of personalized help, Green Farm Genie is the solution, as it uses ICT technology to offer virtual personalized consultations to each and every aspiring green farmer.
Pharmacy successfully utilizes the collaboration between PPP, or the private sector, the public sector, and the people. First of all, I'd like to talk about the private sector. Specifically, agri-tech startups will cooperate with pharmacy to create shared value. These startups deal with agricultural technology and products such as eco-friendly fertilizers or machines that run on clean energy. This is a very important part in moving forward into the green agriculture phase, but the question is, how would we get them to cooperate with us? Startups are normally in a constant need for empirical data collected from real farms to test out and further develop their business model. The rural areas that pharmacy reaches out to can serve as a basis for that. Additionally, agri-tech startups need a solid customer base, and pharmacy can connect the businesses with their potential customers. The government could provide subsidies in the form of loans that the businesses can pay back once their startup is up and running. Agri-tech startups are also in need of young employees with a vision. And at the same time, the youth need employment and career experience opportunities. The Entrepreneurship Board on Pharmacy that posts startup internships will serve as the bridge connecting the two agents. The percentage of youth in the agricultural sector is not very high as of now, but the youth's role is crucial in creating this shift towards green agriculture. And that's why pharmacy will also be tasked with another important mission, raising awareness of the importance of green agriculture while advertising agri-tech startups' internship programs. The youth will be able to turn mere curiosity into meaningful hands-on career experience that may lead to a career path in entrepreneurship. As such, pharmacy will have close ties with the private sector for a more sustainable future of agriculture.
Our innovative platform pharmacy will be operated by youth executives. As previously introduced, we call them pharmacists. We categorize pharmacists into 4 areas of expertise: governance, digital education, data processing, and administration. Governance pharmacists will live stream town meetings, summarize them on pharmacy, and provide newsletters to the digitally isolated. They will also work with town officials to update pharmacy the progress of proposed projects. Being a governance pharmacist will benefit the youth in providing relevant work-related experience, but also benefit both rural communities and the government in fostering active participation from rural citizens. For elderly farmers, digital education pharmacists will be assigned to each community and equip them with basic digital education. For rural youth in deprivation of in-depth technological education, pharmacists will coordinate with the local government to provide advanced digital education program. This program will make rural youth more desirable candidates in the job market. Furthermore, intensive training programs will be provided for fellow pharmacists to follow current digital trends. We believe digital education pharmacists will become crucial agents in reducing digital divides and youth unemployment. Eventually, these pharmacists will contribute to the significant goal of leaving no one behind. Data processing pharmacists will be in charge of creating and operating our simulation software called Green Farm Genie. And for regions deprived of digital infrastructure, the ITU development department can cooperate to provide internet access, spreading their campaign of Connect to Recover. Job experience as data processing pharmacists will benefit youth, as approximately 70% of students in the engineering field agreed that relevant experience was crucial in acquiring jobs. All these functions of pharmacy can only be done by these pharmacists who work in administrative fields. Administrative pharmacists will oversee and supervise all of the projects operated by pharmacy, coordinating with the private and public sector, and also matching mentors with mentees. Furthermore, administrative pharmacists will work on improving transparency and achievements of the whole project. They will publish annual reports in 3 kinds of fields: governance, green agriculture, and youth employment. We expect pharmacy to become a governance platform where farmers, town officials, and government officials can interact. When rural users of pharmacy make proposals directed towards town meetings or the government, town or government officials will reply. By this program, the government can reach citizens more intimately, frequently, and precisely. Cooperating with pharmacy, efficient and optimal policymaking will be more likely. Consequently, youth will bring forth sincere cooperation and decision-making between the rural society and the government. In short, pharmacy will bring us a whole new society. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Team Pharmacy, for a wonderful presentation. Next, may now call in Team Finale to share with us your presentation. The floor is yours, Team Finale.
Can you see my screen? Yes. Yeah, thank you. Okay, can I start? Yeah. Good afternoon, Chairman and other fellow youth participants. My name is Sejong Park from Team Finale. Today, we are all here to discuss how to strengthen youth engagement for growing as the agents of change. To be more specific, our group aims to ensure youth a seat at the table where exercising rights for a more equitable and sustainable post-pandemic world. So let me ask, how can we live forward after sitting in the seat where we can make change? We expect today's collaboration will connect youth and make our voices heard in the levels of government, company boards, and multilateral organizations. I will start with the 2 challenges following after COVID-19, and Section 2 is going to discuss the 3 main objectives of climate. And I will present the details in Section 3 and 4. There are 2 main agendas for today's discussion. One is youth unemployment, and the other is digital transformation. Youth unemployment has deteriorated across regions due to the coronavirus-driven recession. The global youth unemployment rate is 13.6% in 2020, and compared with other age groups, young workers easily lose their jobs to lockdowns in many economies. They work in the weakest sector in form of part-time or temporary contracts with limited protection. Now, talking about digital transformation, it is expanding more than ever with the increase of non-face-to-face economic activities. COVID-19 clearly confirmed that the way of life and the standards of thinking of Homo sapiens, as people using smartphones as part of their bodies, are different from the past. In fact, the relationship between youth unemployment and digital transformation deeply interdependent. Youth employment prospects were being challenged by automation and polarization between industries. However, considering the emergence of new industry sectors and productivity-boosting effects of technological innovation, we must shed light to the positive potentials of digital transformation. So we finally propose a program under the name Maximize Youth Potential. We call it Climax. Also, it means connecting MZ and X generation. Climax is a non-government organization responding to a digital transformation. In order to hear the youth's voice much clearer and realize their ideas, discussion centered in youth view should be organized. So the member of Climax consists of the youth community and its roles in youth networking. Let's move on to the objective part. Climax mainly aims to provide an open era for the youth to aggressively discuss issues regarding sustainable digital transformation. The first objective is to give the underprivileged educational opportunities. To make an inclusive society, we must address the alienation of the underprivileged, including the poor, rural, elderly, and small business owners in the digital transformation process. The second is to improve access to jobs for young people. Instead of supporting labor costs to companies or supplying short-term jobs based on simple tasks, more positive action is necessary for youth. So projects must foster IT industry-related personnel by providing the youth with opportunities to build relevant careers. The third is to ensure environmental sustainability. While the proportion of energy used in digital production is large, digital technology has also high potentials of reducing environmental pollution. Therefore, projects must invest in the development and deployment of greener digital technologies and develop methods to measure the net impact of technologies on climate action. This map shows the mechanism of Climax. Under three main objectives, Climax will discuss them and set up action plans for each issue: tutoring program, mentoring program, proposing policy, National Assembly, and some IT enterprises.
So from now on, let me explain further details of Climax action plans. To serve our first objective of carrying the stragglers in the stage of digital transformation, we suggest a tutoring program. Here, the youth of Climax will play the role of tutors, so they are not only tutoring the elderly, but youth who haven't been able to adapt to the digital transformation era. The tutoring program will enhance the integration between generations X and MZ. Youth tutors will also get a chance to connect with neglected classes and deeply understand their concerns. The next two action plans serve for the second objective, directly dealing with our goal to foster an IT industry-related workforce. Firstly, a mentoring program will connect the youth with professionals in the digital industry. Unlike other government programs, Climax encourages the youth to arrange their program by themselves based on their genuine needs, specific skills they need to enhance, or experiences the industry requires. In this stage, government departments, the Ministry of SMEs, and startups need to support their decision and allocate senior mentors to the mentoring program. Secondly, proposing policies is also a significant action plan of Climax. Once the youth are well trained and prepared for new jobs, they need to find a place where they will build their future career. In order to provide this opportunity, governmental policies can encourage IT businesses to give the youth a chance to experience certain fields. In other words, youth need to be qualified as a promoter of policies regarding their employment in the digital field. And then the National Assembly should sincerely take into account and develop them to be realized. Last but not least, Climax should not miss out on discussing how they will react to pollution attributed to digital transformation. By opening petitions on environmental issues, Climax will suggest possible ways of alleviate the negative impacts of digital transformation on the environment. Now, in order for Climax to be a sustainable organization that has a consistent and effective influence on the three main objectives, the process of youth engagement and monitoring should be carefully considered as well. As ways of promoting engagement of youth into Climax, the regular discussions that shape the action plans will be conducted via metaverse so that accessibility of MZ generations to Climax can be very familiar. Current youth are the digital natives, which implies that the process of managing this organization also needs to be familiar with the digital environment. Additionally, regular surveys on the member and non-member youth about their needs for digital transformation and employment will be conducted. This enables Climax to encompass the general demand of the youth when designing the activities of Climax. Lastly, Climax will set up a monitoring council, which will periodically check whether the organization is following up the process as it was planned in the beginning stage, especially for the action plans. Here, advisors from each ministry will be allocated in order to help Climax to take experts' ideas on their various plans regarding education, environment, policy, and employment sector. Several non-headquartered Climax members also belong to the Monitoring Council, delivering how the public opinion and the member and non-member youth feedbacks are. Doing so, our team finale expects, number 1, interactive and open governance, number 2, development in individual competence, number 3, opportunities for job transfers, pipeline multiple jobs and freelance jobs, number 4, exchange of information and business, and finally, number 5, networking and promoting youth startups. For the enhancement of public governance and youth engagement in digital transformation, Climax will maximize youth potential. We, the youth as future leaders, should be the ones who shape our future and lead the sustainability of our society. Thank you.
Interesting presentations we have so far. Now let us try to listen to the next team. Team U, are you ready? All right, you have the floor now, Team U. Team U, just to remind you, we could not actually hear you. Please make sure to unmute yourselves. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. We're Subin Yoon and Gariko Xuan Lee from Team U. We're really nice to meet you all, and we're happy to share our thoughts through this great opportunity. Today, we're going to share our educational suggestions to enhance climate resilience. In this changing world, Western Europe has experienced unprecedented rainfall, leading to massive flooding. Meanwhile, North America is suffering the hottest temperatures in the West for the first time in over 150 years. However, in the early days of COVID-19, we discovered a temporary hope that at the same time as the world's tentative halt. This suggests that humans fully have a potential for climate recovery. Unfortunately, since the climate crisis has yet to be acknowledged, the participations of the young for the inheritors of the planet should be the primary task. In addition, if young people are not interested, the participation rate will be low no matter how many campaigns and promotions are carried out. Therefore, we intend to transform our knowledge of climate resilience into compulsory education to enhance voluntary participation.
To begin with, this forum will share some comparative analysis of each country's education system and further explain why education in Germany should be adopted all over the world. After recognizing the climate crisis, and by having serious discussions with the topic, several countries have announced climate countermeasures. Korea has established various climate change experience centers to establish an educational environment. Italy said it would include 33 hours of climate change related classes in its formal curriculum in 2019. The US similarly announced that it would implement curriculum programs including climate change in all school years. And in Sweden, environmentalist Greta Thunberg's one-man protest led to a boycott. However, such measures have failed to bring out an accurate record of implementation since the announcement. On the contrary, Germany's Education for Sustainable Development, also known as ESD, presents the more practical way for the world to refer. ESD allows people to think and act sustainably and also aims to have the future ability to make responsible decisions. Germany is using the program in a variety of fields by absorbing it into the school program. For example, 63 climate school certification programs in Hamburg are designed to develop school-specific climate protection plans, including a total of 3,000 educational and technical action plans so far. We argue that such education plans should be expanded worldwide. This is because having schools develop their plans can gather positive ideas simply but in a short period of time. If possible, we would like to require schools around the world to implement climate schools and certification programs in relation to the government. In doing so, students can receive the opportunity to voluntarily participate in a series of policy activities. Furthermore, for the younger generation who did not have enough chances to feel the climate crisis, the expansion of climate schools can induce continuous interest.
Propose a new method of education with climate resilience based on Germany's Education for Sustainable Development system. The new method is using virtual reality to conduct education. Talking about one's thoughts and having a sense of problems related to them, one must develop aggressiveness and self-reliance. To do this, realistic experience is important. We have to consider the youth are not being able to experience it due to the cost and the situational problems. If we use Geppetto's metaverse virtual reality, we can experience it vividly and promote it to the youth who use it the most. Students will use Geppetto to conduct quests, to experience, overcome, and solve the destroyed environment in climate change virtual reality. Experiencing the abnormal climate in virtual reality to think about how to deal with it in advance through the quest system can inform the youth what humans can do to improve. It can be marketed online through the social networks and provide the right education for the youth. It will provide hopeful education by looking at the environment that recovers through the completion of quests. Also, it can be marketed through worldwide promotions along with related curriculum education. Various activity can be expected from youth through social network activities and user-created content called UGC creative activities. Education on climate resilience is needed along with education that reminds us of the seriousness of the current situation. Environmental and climate-related education should be an education that can be felt vividly. Education that can experience one's experience, thoughts, and opinions is more effective than a photo in a textbook. Realistic and effective education is needed using the metaverse platform.
Let's now look at the expectation and realization plan on our proposition. First, the expectation for this education is that the youth will bear a sense of responsibility for protecting the planet and choose future-oriented decision-making. Therefore, we'll expect that the next generation of Greta Thunbergs will create a movement and respond to creating a sustainable society. The youth will be educated about the importance of protecting the planet, so it will become second nature to them. Now, I want to turn to realization plan. It is important that they can create great education if the Ministry of Environment and Education exchange their ideas. Nowadays, each country has different circumstances, so we'd like to emphasize the importance of a government that should regulate education policies and informs them for each school's environment. However, if some schools do not obey, they should receive a fine or some other punishment. In this way, the environmental and educational policies created by the two ministries can be enforced until they become the normal way of education. To conclude, the most effective strategies to increase participation in climate resilience among the younger generation is to establish their identity through mandatory climate education. We recommend that climate schools be used like in Germany to provide students with direct engagement in environmental issues, and to use virtual reality platforms to provide vivid experiences. This necessitates educational reforms, necessitating collaboration between the Ministry of the Environment and Education. They should also play a role in assisting each country in achieving proper coordination in various situations. So far, we've witnessed firsthand of how the Earth's eclipse can improve if our social and economic activity are halted, such as the case with the pandemic. This is the Earth's signal that human power has the ability to resurrect the planet. It's now us up to take action. Thank you for listening so attentively.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. Next, may I call upon the next team, United Students of Korea, to show us your slides. United Students of Korea, you have the floor.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Hello, distinguished guests and speakers. It is a pleasure and an honor to be speaking here today. We are Team United Students of Korea, and we will be presenting how advisory and implementation of the youth will be helpful for the green, resilient, and sustainable recovery from COVID-19. We believe that empowering the youth's advisory is imperative to effectively directing the government on national and local levels. To recover from this new normalcy in the middle of a pandemic, we have identified two significant problems to resolve so that both the youth and government can contribute to the effective recovery against COVID-19. The first problem we've identified is the youth's lack of power. Though COVID-19 has disproportionately affected the youth by compromising their educational and job opportunities, they lacked a voice to impact policy decision-making. This is evidenced by the fact that as lectures move to virtual platforms, virtual interactions cannot replicate some elements of education. Furthermore, there's a reluctance to hire new employees as firms are uncertain as to whether the economy will get better. Consequently, the youth's lack of financial resources forces them to resort to their parents or older generations, leading to a further lack of power and confidence. Another problem stems from the fact that the youth's deprived voice makes policymakers create ineffective policies as they lack first-hand insight into the difficulties the youth face. This has led to particular issues faced by the youth. First, the educational policies have failed to do justice towards university students who were forced to pay the same tuition for a degree whose academic quality and social interaction was compromised. Second, the social distancing regulations and protective measures dictated by the government failed to meet the actual needs of the students. Third, the issue of a substantial increase in youth unemployment was largely neglected, eclipsed by the outcries of the older generations who face economic hardships. On a separate note, local governments have been overloaded with several administrative tasks, as implementing COVID-related policies such as disaster subsidy distribution requires substantial manpower. To tackle the aforementioned problems, our team proposes that the youth should not only be engaged with, in the sense that they are consulted once in a while by experts from different generations, but should be actively participating by advising and guiding policymaking on youth issues and assisting the implementation of COVID-19 policies. We have categorized our solutions into advisory and implementation. By adopting this proposal, our team aims to capture the youth's voice to correctly identify, analyze, and solve youth-specific problems generated by COVID-19.
Okay, so to capture the youth's voice, our team first proposes that youth should be able to actively engage in the advisory process of policymaking. More specifically, the government should play an active role by hiring youth COVID policy advisors and establishing student ambassador programs. These engagements of the youth target SDG 9, 12, and 17, providing benefits in both the short and long run. To begin with, the short-term benefits occur as we target SDG 17, partnerships for the goals. Hiring youth COVID policy advisors for the legislative branch enables the government to capture the youth's voice. In particular, the legislative branch must take advantage of the youth's environmentally conscious nature. By doing so, the youth can be especially helpful in ensuring that the newly enacted laws are sustainable and efficacious for the environment, opening a wider path for green recovery and development. By setting up student ambassador programs to facilitate interaction, students from middle school to universities will be given the chance to advise government officials by proposing their positions about internship opportunities and job entrance policies. This will benefit the youths by raising employment rates as well as the firms that will be acquiring valuable assets, enabling them to create a green and practical product. Following the short-term benefits, the long-term benefits are generated through the implementation of SDG 9, Industry, Innovation, and Infrastructure, and SDG 12, Responsible Consumption and Production. As the youths begin actively advising in the policymaking in different facets, they will implement cutting-edge technologies that will result in resilience building. The first possible option that we provide for utilizing cutting-edge technologies can be the development of a more realistic metaverse using VR and sensory technologies. This will create better education with interactive and realistic learning and better job trainings by improving the experience for many entrance-level employees. Another alternative that we have is to use the cutting-edge technologies to develop a remote medical instrument, such as self-automated vaccination machines, which can help decrease the rate of infection. To target SDG 12, the youth can assist in developing ways of consumption and production that are more green and sustainable. COVID-19 has substantially increased the amount of delivery food ordered by people. However, most delivery foods are packaged with vinyl and plastic that are very harmful for the environment. The youth's skills of proper usage of modern technologies can enact the practical usage of paper and other nature-friendly resources, creating a healthy consumption and production culture throughout the nation.
So, for proper implementation of COVID-19 policies, the youth can be involved on national and local levels. To involve the youth in the national government, they must constitute a youth policy task force that consists of youths and professionals, where the youth can advise the drafting and implementation of COVID policies on education and jobs. First, active involvement of the youth in policies will enable the national government and the policymakers to come up with quality policies in welfare administration, medical needs, and law enforcement that rely on the first-hand experiences of the problems faced by the youth. Second, the youth can reach out for potential partnerships with innovative private sector companies, such as startups, so that the government can have access to the most advanced technologies in the fields to create better education and job opportunities. To involve the youth in the local government, they should be provided with job offerings to combat unemployment and fulfill SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. First, as unemployment is one of the biggest burdens that youth face, providing them with job opportunities will reduce the admin's workload and provide industrial growth. The youth are going to be useful for regulation enforcement and facilitating youth-related policies, including the areas of education and job training. With more youth workers, local civil workers can handle their work with less burden and more efficiency. We will measure the effects of our policy using both qualitative and quantitative methodologies. For qualitative, we will conduct surveys using the internet and posters to observe the realistic effects of the proposal for youth. For quantitative, we will examine the following key performance indicators. First, the number of youths engaging in policymaking. Second, the number and percentage of youth-related COVID-19 policies that include youth participation. Third, the number of new jobs available to the youth.
On that note, governments around the world need to introduce programs to involve the youth in policy advising and implementation. Doing so would provide substantial short-term and long-term benefits for society as a whole and contribute to the realization of SDGs in the arena of policymaking. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation.
Thank you very much, United Students of Korea. That was a good presentation. Very, very interesting. Next, let us now move on to the second to the last team, G3. You now have the floor.
Hello, we are Team G3. We are your presenters, Jung Ho and Jimin Kim. We are excited to present a new online agricultural network model, ENDY, which we believe could restore social networks for the youth and get them involved in climate resilience activities. Here's a brief overview of what we'll be talking about today. Here's the sick Earth, and there is the network of youth to deal with the climate crisis. Greta Thunberg, youth advocating for SNS campaign, and us attending here. Until now, the Global Youth Network played a significant role in resolving the climate crisis. However, the COVID-19 has changed everything about this network. The global economy has collapsed by 14.3%, and the world's 3.3 billion workforces are at risk of losing their livelihoods. And there's the youth. Among this economic collapse, youth has lost their economic and social networks to empower their voices due to unemployment and lockdown. For instance, Corona blues is one of the representative implications showing the demotivation of youth. It is time to restore the youth socio-economic network and their passion for solving the climate crisis. It is why we developed agricultural network with digital youth, the NY. Then how can we recover the youth network to resolve the climate crisis? We refer to the community-supported agriculture, the CSA model, to create our NY. In the CSA model, the local citizens subscribe to local firms and participate in farming as decision makers. Then farmers send their products to the citizens. Through this cooperation, citizens and farmers can share the risks and benefits of food production. About 3,000 farmers are practicing CSA in Europe, and there are 13,000 CSA farms across the United States. By applying the NY model to the CSA farms, we can achieve our four main objectives: mitigating youth unemployment, restoring the social networks of youth, extenuating climate crisis, and globalization. Now another question rises: how does the NY model work, and how should we put youth as the core group in this well-organized model? NY, the system our team devised, consists of farmers, subscribers, and youth. Here's how NY works. The value chain starts with the local government's investment in youth network who want to form NY. Then subscribers pay subscription fees to local firms through digital applications or websites. Even schools, local universities can decide to subscribe to firms using this digital platform. Smart Index, summarizing carbon footprint, green farming technique, and pesticide usage will help subscribers to make greener choices. Then youth will deliver fresh crops with a monthly newsletter from farmers to subscribers. The NY value chain finishes as the residual products go to the food bank to support local individuals in need. The system also provides a video hub as a feedback loop as farmers share their tips about eco-friendly farming and create farmer networks. For instance, Incheon Urban Agricultural Network operates urban agriculture marketplace, fair, and education programs for sustainable farming. Then let's put our system in real numbers. To examine the feasibility of our model, we will use very conservative numbers. One of the current qualifications for urban farming is that the farming site should be at least 1.5 square kilometers. What does this mean? Let's say there is a 1.5 square kilometers cabbage farm in our NY model. This farm will produce 100 million and 4,500 kilograms of cabbage annually. Considering the annual cabbage consumption rate in Korea, about 2 million subscribers can read this farm. At this rate, our subscribers will be able to purchase the products at wholesale price, which means they will consume fresh crops cheaper. Also, the farm will be able to sell their crops at wholesale price as usual. Therefore, the subscription fee won't exceed the amount of the wholesale price. The estimated savings for the subscribers will be the difference between the wholesale and the retail price, which is 37 billion won. At the same time, the consumption of the local food and the usage of Smart Farm Index will decrease the greenhouse gas emission by 50,000 megaton if all food consumed in Korea are produced in this system.
Youth, the most crucial implementing group of our NY model, as they are sensitive to change and digital technology. Based on this potential, youth can perform both sides as permanent employees or just as participants. Slow Food Youth Network is a good example as it is operated by youth consisting of local offices connecting local farmers to residents. Youth in our NY model will operate, advertise, and persuade potential subscribers and farmers. They will also develop QR technology to provide a smart index to the consumers. Then what about youth already having jobs but eager to participate in NY? They can work as part-time employees or participants. They can persuade their colleagues or neighbors to become potential green subscribers. They even can deliver fresh food to subscribers near them. Then why is the local community the best stage for youth to be engaged in climate action? First is ease of measure. Because local area is relatively small, it is easy to find where to put more resources. Then resources can be put efficiently, achieving sustainability of the system. Also, there is the pre-existing community bond among the local residents. It can foster an atmosphere to participate together and solve problems. Finally, local knowledge and experience is necessary to make NY succeed. Also, NY could be expanded on a global level by connecting the local NY around the world through our websites and video hubs. Then last question, how can you measure or monitor the process and results of NY? Firstly, NY is based on digital platform. Hence, by analyzing website log and detailed information accumulated on our platform, we can measure influx of subscribers, formers, youth involvement, and the number of MOU, which shows the level of partnership. Second one is a well-formed local community. We can distribute questionnaires on our monthly newsletter to farmers and residents to find out strengths and potential weaknesses of our system. Lastly, there are smart farm technologies such as Smart Index or cloud service to track production and number of distribution. Restoring youth networks to engage youth in climate action is the ultimate goal of our NY. However, some of you may think it is too ideal an objective. To achieve our ultimate goal, there are 4 aspects of the youth network toward climate action in NY. In terms of economic network, NY will become a strong economic basis for youth, mitigating youth unemployment. Also, NY can restore the youth social network by connecting youth to local communities. Economic and social network of youth becomes a catalyst for climate action. NY also mitigates the climate crisis and enhances climate resilience. Smart Index will reduce the usage of chemical fertilizer. Expanding local and urban farming or greenery will decrease greenhouse gas emission during transport. And decentralization of the food production system will contribute to climate resilience. Lastly, the power of NY expands as this network is globalized, connecting local youth through video hubs. Here is the sick earth. Now, here is the NY, the network of the youth. Local and urban farmers, local residents, and youth operating all of this system. Now is the time for the global youth network to play a significant role in solving the climate crisis. Then, here is the blue earth. Until now, this was Team G3, and sincerely thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, G3. That's an interesting presentation you have, especially the ending, the globe around it. Next, and finally, we have Team Clean to show us their presentations. You have the floor now, Team Clean.
Am I audible? Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We are Team Clean. Today, we are very grateful to be a part of the 5th UNPOG Youth Forum and wish to have a fruitful discussion with other teammates. So today, we would like to present a government program to engage youth in climate resilience that has 2 main objectives. First, make climate change and its impact more concrete and definite. And second, increase youth involvement in the decision-making process of climate response policies. To start off, green resilience has been a topic that diverse agents have been aiming to tackle, especially with the coronavirus. Green New Deal, carbon neutrality, etc. have been keywords among recent news. However, globally, it seems like the government budget were spent in the opposite direction. Only 1/10 of $17 trillion was spent to support green projects, while $4.8 trillion were spent on activities which had clear negative consequences on Earth. Domestically, South Korea aimed to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050 and allocated $135 billion to the Green New Deal. However, South Korea's 2021 CCPI index plunged to rank 53 due to its continued spending on carbon-intensified industries. Now, even though the situation is dire, because the consequences of climate change are abstract, citizens tend to be unaware of the aftermath regarding its climate crisis. Thus, specific measures that will concretize climate impact are crucial. As future leaders, the youth population has the responsibility to start sustainable movements. Thus, we present to you our program proposal based on the youth. The first part of our government program proposal is a virtual reality experiential space. It is divided up into 3 main parts. Now, the first zone will combine metaverse with the real-life atmosphere to let the visitors envision how the close future would be. When the visitors put on the VR headsets, they will be immediately immersed into the environment, imitating the real climate crisis. This will allow the visitors to experience the near future and better prepare themselves for possible climate crises. Next, in the second zone, mock stations will be organized for the youth to experience their impacts toward the environment. With such stations, visitors can directly visualize the results of the positive impacts individual actions can make on the environment. This will motivate them to start making those small changes and spread to their community. Now, our final zone will consist of a review Q&A session. After going through each zone in our experiential space, visitors will have a set of questions to answer, which will allow them to review the environment content. Moreover, participants who share their experience with the certain hashtags on social media will be able to get a chance to join the raffle to win a goodie bag consisting of different sustainable items. Now, these 3 zones will make the youth feel more empowered by giving them the confidence to be the trigger in starting their own movements.
The second solution proposes to equip youth with the necessary skills and experience with experts to participate in decision-making processes of policymaking. The first step is to create an informatory platform that helps to better equip the youth with knowledge regarding climate adaptation policies and national laws. First, the platform will provide the youth with a subscription system where once subscribed, one can regularly receive updates about municipal government laws on climate change. The contents will be made available in various forms to ensure that legal terms are written in an easily understandable manner to reduce any barriers felt by the youth when faced with legal jargon. By describing in simpler terms, the youth will be able to access the information more thoroughly and thus will be more inclined to delve further into government works. This platform will ultimately function as a bridge that connects the youth to various youth-led climate resilience projects that are currently active in Korea and expand ways for them to directly participate in building climate resilience in the real world. Next, the second step will be a program that conjoins youth and climate adaptation policymakers and experts. This part of the solution will serve as the opportunity for the youths to engage in real-life decision-making processes. We hope to connect the youth to major educational events, such as the Korea Global Adaptation Week, which was the largest event in the world for discussion on adaptation. By participating in these events, the youths can expand their knowledge while actively listening to speeches made by policymakers and climate experts. Not only that, these kinds of rare opportunities will further empower the youths as they feel more valued as young individuals who have the potential to partake in building a sustainable future. As an extension of this youth expert engagement program, the youth will utilize what they have learned and form evaluation teams to review current policies. The teams will be paired with experts who will provide their own insights and guide the youth teams in the evaluation process. During the process of proposing and implementing ideas, the youths will gain experience on ways to better voice their ideas and transform them into policies. To attract more youth to engage in our program, the youth team will be with the best suggestions for policies will be awarded with funds to lead climate adaptation projects. The overall objective of this two-step youth engagement solution is to widen opportunities for the youths to have more direct experiences, as well as input their insights into current government policies. Through this solution, we hope to amplify youth's voice in decision-making and empower them to engage when building a sustainable future. We hope to reduce any inequalities faced by youth in access to information and provide quality educational opportunities.
Our program will address the two challenges the youth face in engaging in programs to build climate resilience. Despite the passion for the youth to address climate change and achieve climate resilience, the youth are facing two difficulties engaging in such programs. First is the lack of awareness and accurate information on how climate change affects their communities. One study to determine the level of awareness on climate change issues found that 89% were not aware of the causes, effects, or methods to reduce the problem. This demonstrates the lack of information youth has on climate issues. Another problem youth are facing is the lack of inclusion in the decision-making process. Recently, the Korea Adaptation Center for Climate Change recruited 50 members to evaluate and discuss the government's plan for climate change response. Anyone over the age of 19 could apply, while the youth between ages 15 to 18 are still not being represented. Enhancing youth engagement in programs is needed to achieve climate resilience and leverage public governance. Our program addresses the 4P framework: process, place, purpose, and partnerships for youth engagement. Thus, we believe the program we propose will provide an opportunity for the youth to be involved in the steps to build climate resilience for sustainable recovery from COVID-19, both in the short and long term. In the short term, our program will form a bridge between the youth and climate resilience by educating them through the experiential spaces. It will also be the starting point to induce more diverse forms of governance that combat climate change. In the long term, we hope to create an impact that is maintained within the current youths and the future generations for a sustainable recovery from COVID-19. We also aim to establish an international check and balance system with other countries. After the program has been established, the level of youth engagement will be monitored by measuring two elements: the suitability of the youth engagement program and the changing capacity of the youth. Subsequently, the level of climate resilience achieved will be measured using climate resilience indicators, advancement of absorptive, adaptive, and transformative capacities. By using climate resilience indicators to assess the three capacities, progress can be followed, and thus the focal point of our program can be determined. To conclude, our government program consists of first, the VR experiential space, and a two-step process where we increase youth legal literacy and engage youth in decision-making. Our proposal will help achieve SDG goals 13 and 17, which are climate action and partnerships. Diverse agents from students, government to international organizations will participate in the decision-making process to achieve climate resilience. Thus, our aims, which are first, to make climate change more concrete, and second, increase youth participation in real-life decision-making will be achieved, and we expect to significantly transform the ways youth can participate in building climate resilience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. I think those are all wonderful ideas and presentations that you have shared with us. I'm certain that our evaluators are having a good time as well evaluating those presentations. Right, so let us now move on to the next part of the program, which will be the breakout room discussion session. So you will all be divided into your assigned rooms. I believe you have a reference to that already. So during that time, you'll be discussing with another team and sharing your ideas and eventually coming up with a presentation for a resolution paper. May I ask my colleague to please assign everyone to where they are. Welcome back. Welcome back. I trust that you all had a very engaging discussion with all of your teams. Thumbs up maybe if it was very engaging. Can I see a thumbs up? Or if you were not happy at all? Still a thumbs up. All right. All right. Thank you. Now we go on to the next session. Is everyone ready to present their resolution paper for all of us to see? Yes? No? Yes? No? Yes? All right. Yes. Great. So now let me call in group 1 for them to share the resolution paper to the audience. Group 1, you now have the floor.
Yes, thank you. Well, welcome back, guys. I'm Taekyung from Team Plenary, and we've had our time to work with the pharmacist and to come up our own idea on how to innovate the government to include the vulnerable groups in our society. So inspired from, oh, sorry, can I keep on the first slide? Yeah, thank you. Inspired from our keynote speech from the ICU speaker, we were inspired to focus on gender equality and empowering the women of the developing nations through ICT. Next slide, please. So our main objectives to empower the vulnerable groups, women in particular in the developing nations, was to increase the digital accessibility and to empower them, their ability and opportunity and dignity on ICT usage. And there were 2 main action plans to achieve these objectives. And one was particularly to collect e-waste from the developed nations and to distribute them to the young women. And the second project was the Charlie's project, which will be later more elaborated by Team Pharmacist. Next slide, please. So our first objective on the ICT equality of the developing nations stems from the problem that the 80% of the youth are in developing countries, and they lack the ability to access and actually use these ICT technologies that most of the youth in developed nations are capable of. And particularly young women are in the stage of, and they're falling out of the stage of digital transformation and empowerment. So next slide, please. So our project was to increase the accessibility of internet usage of the young woman and merging this idea to the green energy and the renewable energy that we can, which is another target that we must pursue. So for the digital devices, we are planning to supply them from the developed nations, and to actually reconstruct them by launching some digital education and non-face-to-face educational contents for them to access to legal education and rights education. And these e-learning is so important for the current situation of COVID-19 pandemic, so that these young girls will be access to the educational opportunity that they all need. So after distributing these educational opportunities to the young people, we expect them to make consistent and educational communities with each other in order to move on to the next level, which is the Charlie projects.
The next project idea is the Charlie project, which is based off of the book Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So as you know, Charlie Bucket is struggling in his community, but he gets the golden ticket and he gets to visit Mr. Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, and then his life completely changes. And that's what we want to do for our targeted vulnerable group, which are young vulnerable women in developing countries, especially those that are in poverty. So as you know, for the golden ticket, they will be chosen according to the application essay, which is the golden ticket. So in the essay, young women can talk about their passion to make social changes, to be included in the government, and to make policy changes. According to these golden tickets, young women in poverty will be chosen as the Charlies. And now the implementing stage. Policy makings will be suggested by the Charlies while working actively with government officials and communicating with them, which is our plan to increase good governance. Policies can range over a variety of themes, ranging from everything from renewable energies, everyday problems, and changes that they deem necessary in their lives. Furthermore, qualitative in-depth research will be constructed by Charlies, so they will be able to get accurate, timely recognition about vulnerable communities. So not just young women in poverty, but also other vulnerable groups that are part of their community, so they can incorporate their voices into policy making. Our last stage, which is the adjusting stage, is where we monitor and evaluate what Charlies have done to see what changes, what good governance we have made to increase social innovation of vulnerable groups. So these are the expected results of our two programs. So first, through the first project, we will reduce the digital divide by giving accessibility to digital devices and accelerating the digital transformation, which has become even more important during the COVID-19 pandemic. We will educate young vulnerable women on important topics such as legal education, their rights, and the usage of digital devices. Furthermore, we will reduce climate change. Because environmental changes are accelerating and they're impacting vulnerable groups, if we are able to incorporate their voices into policy changes, we will be able to reduce the damaging effects of climate change and other environmental factors. And furthermore, we want to emphasize that even though we start with young women in poverty, we want to bring changes in developing countries that affect the whole society. So ultimately, even though it starts with young vulnerable women, we will include inclusion of all vulnerable groups by empowering the ability, opportunity, and dignity of vulnerable groups, which is the social inclusion. Furthermore, by working with PPP, people, private, and the public, we will be sure to engage with different stakeholders to bring forth government innovation for social inclusion of vulnerable groups. Thank you so much.
That was good. Thank you very much. Reminded me of Charlie's Angels when you mentioned Charlie's. Right, let's move on to the next group. Breakout room group 2, you now have the floor.
Can you guys see the screen? Hello everyone, we're going to present about effective national to local public governance for SDGs implementation. We're Team U in United States Approve. So we talked about the goal of SDG 17. So it is partnership for the goals. Revitalize the global partnerships for sustainable development, and the SDGs can only be realized with a strong global. So SDG 17 is the most important goal we thought about it. Establish collaborative governance is the most first point we want to talk about it. What is collaborative governance? So collaborative governance is a way for various government and private organizations to achieve common goals, the same goals, or solve social problems that are difficult to achieve in other ways through participation and communication. So the problems of the present governance is the communications. Following bureaucratic procedures, and the last things ineffective administration. Next page. So why is collaborative governance necessary? So first things, we're able to apply both vertical coordination mechanisms and horizontal coordination mechanism at the same time. So we can hold multi-level regulatory governance so that various level of government can cooperate. Last thing is extend self-determinations right of local government. So local government will strengthen their regulatory review functions as much as they possible.
Okay, so we divided into the virtual coordination mechanism and the horizontal mechanism to specify things. And first, the vertical coordination mechanisms have many benefits, but among the many benefits, we chose two, which was a strong point of presence governance system, which is the government that we have right now is very vertical in a sense. And additionally, the resolution speed is really quick in terms of solving a problem. So those are the benefits of a vertical coordination mechanism. And the for the vertical coordination mechanism to work in order to implement the SDGs, there needs to be a clear separation of roles within the government. So we specified in terms of the collaborativeness of the government and the youths. So the youth's function should be advising, where they provide data or firsthand experiences that they've gone through to provide a more practical solution for the government. The government should function as an evaluator, planner, and implementer of the ideas proposed by the youths. So for example, in the setting of providing quality education and jobs and for youths and other people, the youths could share their firsthand experience in the job and educational field, while the government can regularly hold the platforms that the youths can share. And on top of that, the professionals of the government would be participating within the meetings to evaluate the youth's proposals and realistically support their implementations. These could possibly target SDG 4, quality education, and SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. Next slide, please.
Sorry. In terms of the horizontal coordination mechanism, we thought that the strongest point of this is that the effective governance can be achieved through cooperative systems in which departments share power and the workload can be divided among administrations. So we focus on two areas for bureaucratic procedures, and after building a bureaucratic procedure, in effect, building post-bureaucracy systems in which the government and the youth can be incorporated. First, in terms of the bureaucratic procedures, we thought the government shouldn't be overpowered in certain departments. So we thought it was a good idea to divide the power within other departments and to build strength there. And by using these examples of model government, the youth can present their ideas in separate fields, such as meetings and research, and take advantage of their first-hand experiences. And in a specific case, for example, education, job training opportunities are crucial right now because due to the coronavirus, the youth are struggling in terms of gaining internship opportunities or job entrances, and that they could truly present their ideas through meetings in virtual education in which real life experiences can be provided with meetings and conversations with employees and employers. Furthermore, I think the government's role to share their policies after consideration of the youth's ideas. For example, although the government will work as model citizens, the government needs to consider the youth's ideas in order for the government to create more effective solutions for the problems that the youth face right now, because the problems that youth face is very specific. And yeah, so the government's role is to propose policies based on the consideration of the youth's ideas through fields like education and economic growth. Next slide, please.
So for educational supplement method, this method is for supplying the youth to bring effective governance into the society with better education and experiences. So objective for this method is first, national, local public governance. They will attend the preparation process. So active participation of national or local government will be required. And for the second objective, develop political education, governance experience, leadership, teamwork, and communication skills. So basically, political education refers to more opportunities provided to gain enhanced experience in effective governance, which they can apply in the society. and also developing crucial traits in the society, such as leadership, teamwork, and communication skills. For the third objective, increasing interest in SDGs around the youth. It aims for more youth to be aware of SDGs and for them to take part in the process. Lastly, creating a space for decision-making and discussion skills. This is for creating a space for decision-making and this discussion skills so that the many chances to be open for the youth where they can use their learnings. Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, group 2. That's very interesting what you shared just now. Okay, let's move on to the next group, the final group, breakout room group 3. You have the floor.
So I currently don't have the view of the screen, so I'm gonna Hello? I'm sorry, we're experiencing a technical issue, so I'm using my teammate's camera. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you very much. So our team topic was risk-informed governance and innovative technology for DRR and resilience. So for in order for us to discuss about this topic, we took a look at the Sendai framework, which is currently one of the risk-informed governance and DRR policy. So this is our preamble paragraph. So first one, understanding disaster risk. Second, strengthening disaster risk governance to manage disaster risk. Third, investing in disaster risk reduction for resilience. And the last is enhancing disaster preparedness for effective response and to build back better in recovery, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. So over this framework, we discussed how to include the youth and how to use the strength of the youth in our technology. So before we go over to that part, we would like to present a paragraph that is kind of related to our topic. So new media such as social media, big data, and mobile phone networks, all of these types of media was also mentioned in the Sendai framework, and enhanced and improved the impact of local communication or normal communication, which means using the data that we have currently will help us build better risk reduction and resilience policies and more efficient DRR. So what is the data that we have is the strength of the youth, which is quick adaptation to changes and communication skills. And second is the possibility of decentralization.
So with that said, we would like to share with you the priority for our risk-informed governance. Our main theme will be leave no one behind, as this is going to be a participatory risk-informed governance where the right people is going to make the right decision at the right time. So in order to do these things, we thought that The solution could be divided into 3 sections. So first, preparing for the disaster. Secondly, after the disaster happens, how we can utilize the golden hour with such data and new media. And thirdly, how to handle the aftermath right after the disaster happens. So we would like to start with the first one, which is preparation. So before the disaster happens, we would like to share with you the 4 main points that's very important to address. The first one is going to be the tripartite relationship, which is going to be between the government, local people, and the civil society. So as you can see in the slide, the local people should be at the center of our tripartite relationship. Since since we believe that there's no single panacea that's going to be the solution or the governance that's going to solve all the problems around Earth. So we thought that in order to create those distinctive solutions, the local people has to be at the center. So because this is a tripartite relationship, there can be a very easy check and balance system between each agents. The second characteristic of our governance is that it's very participatory. So as mentioned, once again, it's going to be community-based. So not only the youth, but also the professionals can join in to create and to complement each other and create diverse solutions. The third method is going to be youth profiling, which is basically creating a database on youth volunteers and organizations. Since our solution is based on new media and the youth is going to be managing all of the new data, we have to ensure that all categories of youth are equally presented and also engaged in the resilience. So by doing youth profiling, we can gather more youth who are eager to join in this governance. Our fourth characteristic is regarding the youth professionals. So as a specific example, the Young Scientist platform on DRR is actually supporting young researchers who can engage in such DRR programs. Moreover, the second detail that we have is called Youth Mentoring Program. So this is where the young generation who survived a disaster is actually going to be the mentors of the training to support the evacuation processes. So it would be handled in a more professional manner with expertise. So we would like to address these 4 points before the disaster happens as the preparation sector.
So moving on to assessing the disaster. So when the disaster occurs, we thought data mapping is the most essential element during the disaster. So as we said before, youth is the group which quickly adapts to changes and quick with communication and forming networks. So we thought we could use those strengths in data collecting during the disaster. And the first example is the computer program for reporting data through SNS in locals and crowdsourcing. The computer program for reporting data, there is an example of using the AI technique to search for certain keywords in the social media that youth use. So if those keywords we could program the AI to detect certain keywords that are related to disasters. So for example, if someone posts something related to flood in social media, the AI will detect the word flood and they will collect this data, and so that we could use these data to map in which area those keywords are most popping up the most. And recently, this technique was actually used to detect This technique was actually used to detect depression in youth groups recently on social media. So the AI was detecting the word related to depression so that they could help this youth to reach out and get help that are needed.
Second one is monitoring fake news through participatory reporting. And this is also similar to what we said in the first example. Third one is focusing on how to monitor the damage from the disaster. We, for the monitoring device, we actually discovered there is a drone educating program in Fiji. So these drones are actually used to detect and monitor around the island and detect if there is any damage around the area. So since youth are really good with technologies and quick learners, in Fiji, they taught youth group to use these drones and fly them around so that they could detect if there are any damages going around the area. And fourth is making youth as data focal point. So also this technique, so as we said, we are keep coming around, but youth is really a crucial group that quickly adapts to the situation and really good with collecting the data around them. So in Indonesia, the group named Sky Volunteers, they also use drones for aerial risk assessment. So they learned how to use these drones, collected the data to detect any damage or possible possible future damages that are coming, so that they could use those collected data to prevent and also maybe possibly detect ongoing damage so that they could know when and what to prepare to minimize the damage and to solve the aftermath of this damage. So last stage of the disaster risk reduction is the recovery, of course. How could we minimize and quickly recover from the aftermath of the disaster? So we thought that the most important part is, of course, the financial part, because during the disaster, a lot of people lose their money, lose their financials, lose their house, possibly could use all their resources. So we thought making budgets in finance to deal with the disaster was the most crucial part. So we thought creating an insurance system to help those people in locals while they are experiencing a disaster was very important. And for example, we discovered an international insurance system called MIGA, if you have heard of it. So if the insurance system, we do have an insurance system that is quick and efficient to help those people who experience the disaster, we could help these people to deal with the damage faster. And also for the youth group, if they could collect the data, like the financial data, if in those local areas, like if they have any damages going on, they could collect the data if, for example, how much money or budget does this area require to recover or rebuild this damage. And if youth collect those data and give to the insurance company or the government, then it could be a good standard to it would be a good standard to decide the insurance rates and constitute of for the people who are in the who experience the damage, and both for the, of course, for the insurance company and the government. Yes, so that was it for our group, and thank you so much for listening, although the technical issue that we had. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. I think your presentations were all wonderful and we can all learn from it as well. So now, in order to follow the time as well, let's just have a 5-minute break for us to all stretch and stand up for a bit. Hopefully I will see you back all in 5 minutes. All right, enjoy your break. Welcome back, everybody, to our other part of the session. Now, I believe that previously I have asked you all to submit your questions, inquiries about the work that UN does, because it's for this part. Basically, Mr. Keping Yao will share with us some insights, and I hope you have fun listening to his discussion. Mr. Keping Yao, you have the floor now, sir.
Okay, thank you, Caroline. Yeah. I hope so far you have enjoyed the youth forum. And also actually before this kind of forum, I have asked Carol to collect your possible questions you would like to ask during an open dialogue session. Yeah. So, but before I open this session for the interactive dialogue, I would like to make a short presentation to highlight some answers to your questions. For example, some of you ask the realistic vision of SDG implementation, and also how the UN is advancing international cooperation, and how the UN are working together with the different stakeholders. And also, some of you also ask about the job opportunities with the UN system. So before I open the floor, I would like to make this kind of a short presentation, so you have a good idea that for our interactive discussions. Yeah, next please. So I would like to introduce the current situation, the time, so highlight the importance for the transformative changes for SDGs. Then I also mention about what UNFOC has contributing to empower the youth and supporting member states for combating COVID-19 and building back better. And also I would like also to give you some suggestions how it can be better prepared for the future job opportunities with the UN system. So first I would like to highlight the severity of the COVID-19. So the COVID-19 has had a devastating impact on the implementation of the 2030 agenda, undermining decades of development efforts. This crisis has also pushed hundreds of millions of people back into poverty and hunger, caused decades of learning loss, especially for the children in those African countries with a backward digital infrastructure. And also it worsened inequalities. Yeah, next please. Next. Next, please. Yeah. I would like to go together with you quickly about several charts to show the severity of the COVID-19 crisis. First, it's about the economic progress that has been reversed. For example, the pandemic has led to the loss of equivalent of 255 million full-time jobs, which is 4 times of the number lost during the global financial crisis during 27-29. And worldwide, an additional 70 to 160 million people are likely to have experienced hunger as a result of the pandemic. Next, please. The crisis has also exposed and intensified inequalities within and among countries. So the pandemic is likely to reverse progress made in reducing income inequality since the financial crisis. You can see that the COVID-19 has increased the average Gini coefficient for those kind of emerging markets and developing countries by 60%. Yeah, this Gini coefficient is a measurement of the income inequality. And also about the vaccine distribution among countries are also very unequal. So for example, for the Europe and North American countries, every 100 people, there are 6 to 8 people can receive vaccination. But for those kind of sub-Saharan Africa, it only have 2 people out of 100. Next, please. And also the climate, biodiversity, and the pollution crisis persist. According to the UNFCCC, 2020 global average temperature is increased by 1.2 degrees centigrade above the pre-industrial baseline. You know, the Paris Agreement, the benchmark is 1.5 degrees. So we really have great challenges. And also you can see the global material footprint increased by 70% between 2000 and 2017. So we are now advocating for the sustainable consumption and production patterns. Yeah. Next, please. Also, the means of implementation to enact the SDGs have also been negatively affected. So globally, you can see the FDI dropped by up to 40%. And also economic recovery is very weak. Many countries, their economic recovery can only return to the pre-pandemic levels only in 2022 or even 2023. Next, please. So the crisis has demonstrated the interdependency and interlinkages among the various dimensions of sustainability, from health, well-being, and social and economic prosperity to climate change, climate and ecosystems. So to address those kind of vulnerabilities exposed by the pandemic, the governments should make structural transformations and develop common solutions guided by the SDGs. Next, please. So how to address the challenge of the COVID-19 pandemic? So first, we need to be resilient, and we need to quickly adapt to the new situation, new challenge with agile response. And also we have to be innovative. Yeah, just some recommended suggestions by the policymakers. First one is about emergency measures for showing up social protection. So between February 1st and the 31st of December 2020, government worldwide announced more than 1,600 new social protection measures in response to the crisis, but almost all were short-term in nature. So due to this kind of short-lived nature of this kind of social protection measures, it's more important to highlight the importance of accountability, transparency, and equity, because this kind of short-lived measures, they may not go through the due procedures. Yeah. And also this kind of social protection or social assistance measures, they basically addressed the hardships of those kind of vulnerable groups, including those kind of unemployed people, and also those kind of micro enterprises. Second, the government needs to embrace digital technology to deliver accessible, reliable, and inclusive services, especially for those kind of vulnerable groups, especially such as services that are essential, such as health, education, water, and sanitation. So during this process, it's more important to ensure that digital ID or ID management to ensure that inclusive services can be delivered to the vulnerable groups. Yeah. Third, it's about accelerating digital transformation. So this kind of pandemic has accelerated the pace of digital transformation globally, but it also requires the change of mindsets, upskilling, and a change of innovation culture within the civil service. And also, it also needs to be based on a lot of interoperable technologies for data sharing, which can contribute to quick solutions. Yeah. And also, not only the government need to accelerate the transformation, but also those businesses, the private sector also needs to accelerate the digital transformation with the strategy. For example, the telemedicine, teleworking, and teleeducation. And also, the government needs to develop those national instruments and a strategy for SDGs. Yeah, many countries in Europe, for example, they develop some special bonds to mitigate the impact of the COVID-19. Next, please. And as a government, I encourage to increase investment in science, technology, and innovation. So this issue has been also highlighted by many speakers of you today. And as a government need to take a green economy approach and invest in clean energy and industry. And as a government need to work together with other stakeholders, especially local communities, to promote social innovation. For example, Sri Lanka, they have the first time the Citro Lab, which is a social innovation initiative in the country, jointly managed by the UNDP Sri Lanka and the government ministry. And Korea also, they have a Commons project. Maybe some of you have heard about it. And also, it's also very important to government to invest in data and information infrastructure. There's a data disaggregation. It's very important to monitor the status of the vulnerable groups and also the monitor review of the overall SDG implementation. Next, please. Also, now I'll briefly talk to you about, share with you what the UNPOG has contributed to this, to the challenges of the COVID-19 and Building Back Better. So we conducted some thematic research, including the critical role of youth in building resilience in countries in special situations, how to leverage digital technology for addressing youth employment, how to strengthen local governance, digital governance transformation capability, local digital transformation, instituting data governance framework, risk-informed governance for resilience, national local governance for climate change mitigation, adaptation, smart city, and a curriculum on governance for SDGs, among others. Yeah, we also make a lot of efforts to continue to provide the capacity support to the developing member states, Asia Pacific and East African regions. Yeah, so POG promotes the capacity development at both national and subnational levels, through a holistic integrated approach. So we organize the training workshops, webinars, and the development, and also development the toolkits. Yeah, so we organize the webinars and also training workshops. Next, please. So about some suggestion how you can prepare yourself to be better serve the international community in the future. So first, I would like to suggest that you should have develop a good awareness of the major development challenges or issues. Yeah. First, about the global development agenda. You already know the 23rd agenda, and also every year the UN release the annual report. And also, you should also understand about the Addis Ababa action agenda, so which is about the financing issues, and on the Sunday framework. All this agenda, you highlight important policy coherence, about the policy trade-offs, and also prioritization of the national strategy, and also integration between those kind of different international agreed development agreements, and also the importance of partnership with the whole society. Second is about climate change and Paris Agreement, and also importance of green groups and green jobs, and also ESG values and principles should be endorsed by the business sector, and also the renewable energy industries, and also the importance of developing the sustainable production and consumption patterns, and the issue of migrant issues, because the migrants could cause a social problem. So how we can include them in a society and help them to be integrated, and with the services also delivered to this kind of people. So recently we see the Afghanistan crisis. There's lots of political discussion about this migrant issue, and also about the trends of a global economy. So now we see the disruption in the global supply chains and the reversal of globalization. And also we are also seeing the global inflation because of a quantitative easing by the central banks in many developed countries, and also asset market booming, which is now creating new inequalities. Yeah. And also impact of the fourth industrial revolution to developing countries, and also it can cause rising inequalities within and between countries. Next, please. And also about public health emergency and a global health partnership. So we just talked about equity in vaccination distribution, and also especially in the developing countries. And also we need to focus, you also need to care about the urbanization, smart cities, and especially about a data-driven smart city management, and also more reliant on big data and data analytics, and also the frontier technology like AI and IoT and data privacy. Actually, yesterday evening, the UN DESA and also Shanghai municipal government, we co-organized one webinar on the smart city by leveraging digital technologies. Yeah. So if you are interested, you can go to our website to of the Division for Public Institution Digital Government to find more information. And also, you should also be aware of the issue of the user employment and innovation and how to leverage the digital technologies, and also how the government can work together with the private sector to create more job opportunities for the young people. And also about the gender mainstreaming, this is also very important. It's about the gender equality and women's empowerment. Actually, only this morning, UN DESA, our Department of Economic and Social Affairs, we had a meeting to discuss about how to mainstream gender inequality issues in our products and the use, and also how we use the data desegregation to address the gender mainstream issue. And also, you should also be aware about the environmental accounting, which is called, and also actually only this year, the UN adopts this kind of landmark framework about ecosystem accounting to integrate natural capital in economic reporting. So this is also linked to the concept of our beyond GDP. Yeah. And also, lastly, you should understand those kind of unique development challenges of those kind of countries in special situations, like least developed countries, small island development states. They are confronted with these issues like sea level rise, climate change, yeah, and also those countries of landlocked developing countries, which face a special situation about transportation issues. Yeah. Next, please. And also, to prepare yourself to better serve the international community, I will also suggest that you should also to know the kind of development assistance program by those kind of major countries and major development players, and also those kind of regional international organizations. You can go to the website and read the annual yearbook to see what's the priorities, what's their focus to support those kind of developing countries. Like, for example, the Korea, you have a COICA, Japan, you have a JICA, US have the USAID, and the UK have a UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. Australia has Austria Aid, and China has a new agency that set up last year, China International Development Cooperation Agency. And also CITA is also is very active globally. And also we have ADB and World Bank, we have a European Union. And OECD, they also have a DAC club, DAC, Development Assistance Club. They also have a recommended famous 0.7% of the ODA to GNI. And also Korea, you also have a new southern policy for the ASEAN countries. And also like APEC, they have an annual like APEC minister meeting or summit. Yeah. Yeah, next please. Yeah. So lastly, also, yeah, how about prepare yourself for the career opportunities? Yeah, first, of course, you need to have a strong academic background. You know, you should develop leadership skills and a teamwork spirits, and also need to develop the drafting and presenting skills in English, maybe, and also other UN official languages. You should be aware of some new technologies. You should keep learning, develop the learning habits. Yeah, and also you can also be active and participate in some activity organized by UN agencies resident in Korea and networking, including, for example, this kind of youth forum. And also you can go to the relevant UN website to apply for the UN internships. And also you can also check the UN volunteer websites. Yeah. And also your country, Korea, you have a JPO programs. You can also keep an eye on it for the possible chances. And also you can go to the UN website and also other World Bank for the YPP program. Yeah. And also, for example, one of our former interns, you know, he just received a notice from the World Bank YPP program for the next step. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I want to talk to you now. I would like to open the floor for any question you may have. And also I have my colleagues with me. Yeah, so that's the open floor for the discussion. Let me know which question you may have. Anyone could start to ask any questions? Anyone take the lead?
Hi, could I ask the question, please?
Yes, let's go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the lecture. I'm Cheon Kim. The question I had was, how is the UN working to strengthen global governance in today's climate? Thank you so much.
Global governance in current.
Yes, in today's climate of rising nationalism, how is the UN working to strengthen these forms of different, multilateral cooperation and global governance?
Yeah, I mean, this one is a very big, big question. Now that the how to say, UN we have a different mechanism, right, to foster the global partnership. Yeah, and especially every year we have this kind of high-level political forum for sustainable development, which is organized under the auspices of ECSOC, Economic Social Council. And during this, how to say, this normally it's a 1 week plus 3. So 1 week, then the 3 days after 1 week, then we have a 3 days high-level segment. Yeah. So during this kind of a high-level political forum, so countries that present their, we call it VNR, Voluntary National Reviews, yeah, about their country progress and the challenges in SDG implementation, yeah. So through this way, and we also invite other kind of international organizations, they're all involved in this process. So we all know together what happened, yeah. So, and also in 2019, we also organized the summit about this of the heads of states about to review the global SDG implementation, and also all this kind of international organization, they're also involved in this process. And also ECSOC, which is how to say, in the ministerial level of the how to say advisory body, yeah. So they also every year they have a setting the themes and inviting relevant international organizations to join this to join the policy dialogue discussions to discuss those kind of international with the international concerns, yeah. And the third thing is that the UN always, we have the SDG 17, yeah. So this kind of 17, that the one important issue is about global governance, yeah. Especially when we talk about global governance, in most of the time, we also talk about global economic governance, yeah. So we talk about the three pillars, about those kind of World Bank, IMF, and WTO, yeah, UNCTAD, yeah. We also talk about this kind of economic rules and also the decision making, especially, for example, in the IMF and the World Bank, developing countries are asking for more shares of voting power in the council. And of course, I mean, now also in the UN, also we have lots of discussion how to enhance the voice of those from the developing countries. Yeah, so the UN is trying to use those kind of ECSOC and also General Assembly, this kind of convening platform to let people talk to each other, and also try to strengthen the global governance, and with the focus on give the voices to the developing countries, not this world, and not anymore to be dominated by those kind of developed countries. You also know that the G77, right? Group 77. The Group 77 is, although it's said 77, but now is the member countries of this Group 77 is already 140, more than 140 countries. So it's very powerful to advocating for the voices for those these countries, yeah. So for the UN perspective, we are trying to to make it this world more diversified and strengthen the voice for those kind of developing countries. Yeah, but more it's in most cases we talk about those kind of global economic governance. Yeah, so yeah, so hope you I answer your question. Yeah, thank you. So, any other questions?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for a great speech. Maybe this question is like personal question, but I just wonder what this forum means to the professionals to here come and other than our participants. So I want to ask, how do you expect today's youth forum to actually influence the professionals and several organizations in this field?
You mean about this youth forum?
Yes.
Okay, actually this youth forum, that's this year is the fifth edition of this kind of youth forum. The main objective of this youth forum is try to engage the young people who are resident in Republic of Korea to ensure that they be aware, fully aware of those kind of emerging issues of SDG implementation, and also encourage them to be engaged in discussions for this kind of issue. For example, this year we have set up 3 themes. Yeah, I also listened to your discussion, your contribution. I also learned a lot from you. Yeah, so now we are opening only to the those kind of Korean youth resident in this country, but we do have some thinking that in the future maybe we can further expand the scope of this kind of youth forum. Yeah. So mainly we also, through this one, we also want to listen to your, innovative ideas, and also I see many solutions, such as solution by you. It's also really very good, very insightful, and very kind of, very encouraging. Yeah. I can also see the dynamism and also the spirit of innovation by all of you. Yeah. So I hope that through this youth forum, from your side, you can know better what we are doing, and also you can develop interests and to have more chances to maybe to communicate it together with us, more with us. And from our side, we want to find a better way how to have more regular, not once a year kind of a platform to communicate with you. We will also see how we can better engage with you. Yeah. And also to make our work more meaningful. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for answering.
Yeah. I also see a raising hand. Can you please identify yourself and go ahead. Somebody raising a hand. Yeah.
Hello, I am Yeon Park from United Students of Korea, and I have a question. So here in through the youth forum, we all presented how the youth could provide to supply the SDG implementation, right? So I wanted to know how you think is the most practical approach that the youth can take to fulfill the emerging issues of the SDG.
It's very kind of a challenging questions, yeah. So for all those kind of ideas, and I also watched very carefully of your your presentation. You talk about metaverse, right? About effort education. So for those kind of innovative solutions, ideas you have suggested, of course we will try to to see how to the feasibility to be included in our daily work. And also we will also see because all your presentations, everything will be also be uploaded in our website, and also we will see how we can use the social media to further promote ideas. Yeah, and actually during your presentation or your keynote presentation by your groups, I also find many, you mentioned about many key elements like engagement of society, that improve the digital skills and engagement of stakeholders. Yeah, they are all very kind of important ideas. Yeah, we will see how we can, to better use your wisdom for our future work. Yeah. We will also try to use the social media to further promote your ideas, yeah, which are also very innovative to our work, yeah. Okay, maybe I can take that last question before we conclude this open dialogue session.
Thank you very much for the response.
Yeah, thank you. So we really hope that, and not just this kind of youth forum, but also other occasions, if you want to have some, if you have some innovative ideas, I also welcome you to also communicating with us, you know. Yeah, and also all our activities you can also apply to join us. Yeah. Anyone want to ask a question for the last one? Seems that no response. Okay, so I thank you so much. So if that's the case, I would like to give back the floor to Caroline.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I hope you all had a very engaging Q&A session during Mr. Kepting's presentation. Now, before we close the program, I think everyone is also waiting for the announcements of the winners. But before we announce who will get the awards from the Ministry of Interior and Safety, the Ministry of Environment, and Incheon Metropolitan City, I want you all to know that you are all winners of this program. You took the courage of applying this activity, and not everyone has that. So a big congratulations to all of you for showing your dedication and hard work. Congratulations. Okay, so now I have 3 awards here that I will be announcing. For this one, I want you all to know that you will be receiving a certificate. Each team will receive a certificate, and at the same time, for your participation, you will be receiving a souvenir from our office. It'll be delivered to you. Okay, so first things first, for the ministerial awards from the Ministry of Interior and Safety, we have Team Pharmacists. Congratulations. Congratulations, Team Pharmacists. Job well done. Next, from the Ministry of Environment, we have Team Finale. Congratulations, Team Finale. And lastly, from the from Incheon Metropolitan City, we have United Students of Korea. Congratulations. Everyone, congratulations. You all deserve a big tap on your back for the hard work. Really, thank you very much. Okay, so moving forward, we will now like to close this session. And I would like to call upon Mr. Keping Yao to deliver Mr. Bok-Yun Shim's closing remarks on his behalf. Mr. Yao, you have the floor.
Thank you, Caroline. So on behalf of Mr. Bok-Yun Shim, the head office, I would like to again express deep appreciation to our distinguished speakers and colleagues and the participants who are with us today. Your invaluable contributions have made this 5th Youth Forum a successful event. So this year's Youth Forum SDG implementation has taken place at a critical juncture where we remain to address the multidimensional challenges of COVID-19 and building back better. As we continue to organize this year's 5th Youth Forum virtually, in collaboration with the Ministry of Interior and Safety and Incheon Metropolitan City, the Youth Forum on SDG implementation has indeed evolved to become a unique platform for young leaders to share the vision and elaborate on their substantive contributions to implement the 2030 Agenda. Under the overarching theme of leveraging public governance and enhancing youth engagement to promote a green, resilient, and sustainable recovery from COVID-19, the Fifth Youth Forum has covered the topics of the three training toolkits that our office has developed over the past two years. These toolkits all emphasized the critical role of the youth in building back better from the pandemic. For the toolkit on government innovation for social inclusion of vulnerable groups, it highlighted the importance of building inclusive mindsets, as well as the capacities and the skills of our public servants, with the whole of society approach to fostering innovation for building inclusive societies. The toolkit on effective national to local public governance for SDG implementation advocates youth participation for forging national and local connections for SDG implementation. And the toolkit on risk-informed governance and innovative technologies for disaster risk reduction and resilience emphasizes youth engagement as an entry point to strengthen environmental and economic resilience and sustainable use of natural resources. Truly, the youth of our current generation bear the responsibility of being our torchbearers of sustainable development, and more than ever, young leaders should be engaged in SDG, in a decade of action of SDGs to deliver SDGs by 2030. The brilliant discussion and presentation shared among the youth participants today give us hope for the future. The new ideas they have shared and innovative solutions presented to us could serve as brainstorming materials that we can all learn from and use for our future activities to ensure a green, resilient, and sustainable recovery from the COVID-19. So as I bring this youth forum to an end, I would like to again congratulate all the youth participants for being champions in today's event. A commended effort and hard work that you have done from the moment you submit your applications up to reaching this final stage of the event. It is an extremely act of dedication. And with that, I would like to take the opportunity to remind you that you are winners on our 5th Youth Forum on SDG implementation. And like my colleagues today, I hope that you continue with your journey in building back better. I would also like to again extend my gratitude to Director General Song Soo Kim, Mr. Jae Hak Jang, Mr. Willie Shaw, and Ms. Atsuko Okuda for sharing their time with us. I hope that you enjoyed listening to our young leaders' presentations as much as we greatly appreciate the message and insights that you have shared with us today. To our colleagues and evaluators, thank you very much for the support that you have extended to make this youth forum more interesting and successful. I hope that their bright minds have also given you some insightful ideas that may be useful to your respective project offices. And to the interns, your presence and assistance in all our events are always appreciated. Once again, congratulations to every one of you for making this a successful event, and thank you very much. Thank you. Back to you, Caroline.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, so for this part of the program, because your voice matters, we would also like you to give us a feedback about the event. So I would like to ask each and every one of you to fill this survey out, and then let us know what you think about how the event went, how can we improve and all. So please, you may get in your phones and check the QR code. And then we'll be back shortly. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time. And like what Mr. Kepinyao, on behalf of Mr. Bokin said, I would also like to echo him by saying thank you to our head, Mr. Bokin Shim, Director General Kim Song-soo, and Mr. Jae-hak Jang for sharing with us their time. Mr. Willie Shao and Ms. Atsuko Okuda, thank you very much for the wonderful, wonderful insights that you have shared with us. For the evaluators from UNPOG, Ms. Haekyung Shelley Choi, Haeyoung Haley Kim, Mr. Samuel Dana, thank you very much. And from our UN partners, Ms. Chen Chung from UNESCAP, Ms. Jihyun Jenny Zhang from LEGO, and Mr. Andrew McElroy from UNDRR, thank you very much for extending your time with us and helping us out with evaluating the participants. And Mr. Kepinyao, thank you, sir. Of course, I would like to also thank my colleagues and the interns, and again, the participants. This couldn't have been done without your presence here. Thank you all very much, and I hope you have a good Friday. Enjoy your weekend and stay safe, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Good job. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Keep in touch, keep in touch with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Really enjoy your presentation. It's a really very good thing. Very, very good thing. So any questions? Any of you have any questions? Just write to us, okay? Yeah.